you had recently gone through something extraordinary. You were in Israel on October 7th, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you thought you were coming home after playing you were supposed to, or you had already played the harp for the King's Harpist?
We had finished playing the harp for the King's Harpist. All of the other King's Harpists had flown out.
And you didn't?
And we didn't, because we were staying to help with the harp school.
Okay, so you were there, and all of a sudden, war breaks out.
Right.
Just talk to us about that.
It was horrible. The whole country was in shock. And a year later, of course, they're still all in trauma.
Right.
Children couldn't go to school. It was,
wow.
We heard the booms, boom, boom.
You were that close.
Well, you could hear. Yes, we could hear it. We could hear it. And the lady that we were staying with said, "Oh, it's normal. It'll stop in a few minutes." And then she came back down a few minutes later. Said, "This is not normal."
Oh, wow.
So if you hear sirens, we go to the bomb shelter, which, that while we were there, we went to the bomb shelter 4 times. That was because the IDF have an Iron Dome. Israel has an Iron Dome and David's Sling, and there's a third one. And they try to catch and intercept and hit the missiles or the rockets before they hit a civilian area.
Okay.
And so they had to pick and choose which ones were going to land like in an open area. So we could hear after that. I mean, the news, they showed it on the news. The Israeli government did not filter much. They showed the Israeli people what had happened.
Oh, they did. Wow.
And we saw, and it was beyond horrific.
Did you know that it wasn't just missile attacks? Did you know at the time of being in the bomb shelter that there was, individuals in the city limits that were, or in the country
they were
inside of Israel that were also shooting and so forth? Did you know about that?
We didn't know that at the time, but we heard periodically during the morning that it was more than just rockets, that they had invaded, and that terrorists had invaded and broken through the fence. And basically what they had done was the ladies who were the watchmen were watching the fence line, and that was their duty for the IDF, for the soldiers.
Okay.
And they were watching, and they kept reporting, "We see suspicious activity, we see this, we see that." They keep running up with their motorcycles and then going back like they're doing a practice run. And because everything that was planned was not high-tech, it was low-tech. They wrote messages, and they used a secret code like, "Come over, Uncle is coming to dinner, can you come?"
Oh, wow.
And they would meet and plan the what they were planning to do.
Wow.
So Israel was not prepared, and the whole country was in shock. How could this happen? And we just prayed. We prayed in the Spirit. We knew we were there for a reason. And during that whole time, we had to shelter in place. We were not in one of the kibbutzes that was infiltrated by the terrorists, although it could have been, but it wasn't.
That's good.
And we, during the time before we could get out of the country, we took that time to worship.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Even this last trip, when we had to go to the bomb shelter, we had one harp.
Yeah.
We pulled it out and we started worshiping.
Yeah.
And that was when Iran sent all those missiles that time.
Wow. And that seems, I remember, of course, even over here, we were shocked.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing that you were over there, and we've had reconnected, I guess, from, when I was in the Netherlands the last time, but we immediately started to pray. But the one thing I remember you talking about through the communication, or I think you might have communicated with my father, was we're in a bomb shelter, but we're worshiping. And it seemed like that is your go-to method for handling this really stressful thing. What was that next morning like after the dust sort of settled?
It was even worse because the rockets kept coming, and we were crying out to the Lord. the lady that we were staying with is a spiritual daughter of ours. She was in the church in Delft, and that's how we got connected more with Israel. That's another story, maybe for another time.
Sure.
But she was on her face, and she had her prayer shawl, and she was on her face on the map of Israel, just crying out to the Lord. And we almost didn't know what to do. It was like a wailing, and the whole country was wailing, because you could see on your little app on your phone where the rockets were coming, and it just looked like Israel was being annihilated.
Wow.
But we didn't know. And from where we were, we just had to wait.
Yeah.
And just trust God and pray and pray and pray. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's scary.
But the whole time we were not afraid. And everybody said, "Oh, aren't you afraid?" And we said, "No, we're not afraid." I can't do. It's just a supernatural shalom peace that we had.